you said that a lot of your friends and family have passed away, but you also mentioned Amy Winehouse in your book, and
Yes.
you were close
Mm.
to Amy. So I know you've shared a funny story in your memoir, story about when she came to see you perform the theater.
Yes. Yeah.
Would you mind telling us that story just a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, you do theatre as well, right? So you know you've got to be on for theatre. I mean, granted, this was a pantomime, but pantomime's a bloody hard work, right? You've got to be on the ball
Okay.
um and I'd got the part of Prince Charming. Again, I write about it in the book, much more articulate, but I got to know Amy on and off throughout the years, and I don't know if she had a soft spot for me or I made her laugh. I think we made each other laugh. We were never best friends,
Mhm,
and I
mhm.
don't claim that in the book either.
No, no, no.
We wouldn't speak to each other for months at a time sometimes, or a year or whatever. But towards, I'd say, the last couple of years, I think it was the last couple of years, we did we were a bit more in touch, and I was doing I was doing this panto, and she rang me this morning and said, I want to come and see you in panto. I've never seen a panto before. And I'm thinking, oh God, because I'd already messed up a bit in this panto myself. I'd already got drunk one afternoon
Yes.
and gone on
Mm.
stage. It wasn't a good look, right? But I was, no excuse, but I got told off by all the cast.
Yeah.
So everyone's eyes was on me to be good, because they couldn't fire me at this point because they just couldn't, because there was a new guy was about to take over. But I ended up, I was sharing the role with somebody else.
Somebody else, yes.
His name was on the poster. I just got this a last minute job,
Mhm.
I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. I need the money. Anyway, so she came much later, a few hours later, and she obviously, she was Amy. She was drinking. She was back drinking at this point, and I could tell she'd had a few drinks. And I said, "Look, are you going to be okay, Amy? Yeah, I'll be fine. No, don't worry about me." And everyone's running around going, "Oh my God, Amy Winehouse is here, and the Ugly Sisters." And no. Suddenly I wasn't such a bad boy anymore because they see that this big superstar's come, and can we say hello to her? Can we meet her afterwards? I love Amy Winehouse. And I think I'd come on. She started to, because she'd never seen a panto before, and obviously because she was in a slightly altered state, she'd had a few drinks. God bless her. She was screaming at the Ugly Sisters because she said, because they were not being very nice to Cinderella, the main character,
Yes.
and she's I won't tell you what she said. I say it in the book, but she wasn't
Yes.
happy. And so in the intervals, I said, Amy, you need to be a bit quiet, yeah, I'll be quiet. Then I came on in the second half again, and I'm singing this big song, Holding the Slipper, Cinderella's slipper for the power of love. It's Frankie Goes to Hollywood song, and the next thing I hear is big wolf whistle. She used to call me Chav for Cav,
Yes.
Chav, because she thought I was a bit chavvy, Chav. And so she was shouting, and she caused mayhem basically. And but luckily it was my last night of the show.
Okay.
And she was very apologetic the next day, and I went to see her, and she apologized, and But Amy used to tell me about my drinking. She'd say, you are drinking too much. And this was somebody that had issues herself, so she cared. But she was the Amy that I knew for very short periods of time. But when we spent time together, it was sometimes just the two of us. And she was intelligent. Well, you can tell all that from the way she writes. But she was one of a kind. She was an intelligent, very, very funny, and super kind, beautiful soul. Yeah.
So when you found out of her passing, how did that affect you?
I wrote this in the book, and because I wrote so much, it got edited out for some reason. I wrote what happened that day. I was actually drunk, and I was in Euston Station in London, and I don't know where I was going or what I was doing. I can't even remember now in this moment, but I was probably somewhere not in a great state. I was in the thick of my, drinking again. And I slipped and fell on the concrete, and on the concourse in Euston Station, and it's rock hard, right? And I slipped and fell and smashed my head. And as I bounced back, I heard it crack, and all these people came running around me. It's on my own, and I bounced back up. And as I looked up, it said on the monitor, Amy Winehouse found dead, or Amy Winehouse died, dead, passed away, whatever they say in the news. And so as I smashed my head and looked up, I found out that news. And I had no concussion. I mean, you should have heard the bang. It was so loud, I thought I'd cracked my skull. And I was I was drunk, but I was absolutely fine. People were saying, "Are you okay?" So I sometimes wonder if that was her saying, "Wake up," like, you need to help. You need help. Maybe not, but that's the way I perceive it to be. So that's how I found out. I'd smashed my head, I banged up, and there I jumped, came up, and then there it was on the screen. But I sometimes dream about her, and I write the chapter where she made the meatballs that afternoon when I first met her again after many years. And her best friend, Kat, who's a lovely girl, Catriona, she was Amy's good friend who Amy adored, and her other friend, Naomi, and her other friend, Shannon. And I think it was Kat and Shannon. I'm not sure if it was Naomi, but they were Kat and Naomi were definitely Amy's bestest friends who she adored. And I was in a pub one day again on my own, and they said, "Oh, Amy would love to meet you, Amy." She said, "Oh my God, let's tell Amy that you're here in this place." Anyway, we went back to the flat in Camden. That's when I met her after all these years. This is before the Prince Charming thing. And she was making meatballs in the kitchen, and she was a real caretaker, She said, "Have some meatballs," And I just remember the silhouette of a beehive, cooking the meatballs. Yeah. So I have real fond memories of Amy.
Yes.
Really do. Yeah.
So, Anthony, do you ever still have moments where the old thoughts come back, and how do you deal with them now?
Yes, absolutely. I thought about having a drink 2 days ago, but I don't act on it now.
Yes.
That's the difference. Because the blind spot that I had in the past was against all the evidence that I was given, that I knew of how much it destroyed my life and others. I would still pick up that drink thinking it would be different this time. That's the insanity of addiction. Whereas now, what I gave up one thing, and don't get me wrong, like there is days when I still sad, I still grieve, I still feel down. I don't believe in myself. I have fear, a lot of fear some days about things and people and whatever, I don't feel good enough.
I relate to that.
All the stuff,
Yes.
In fact, it's 30 years since my first single came out this week. Well, around this time, and I just think, God, that young boy, like what a life experience I've had, So that's why I tend to not get down anymore. But I think the more time the only way I stay sober now is by sharing and by helping somebody else, like I was helped. I can only tell you what I did. I can't tell you any other way. I've tried loads of different ways. For me, yes, I needed rehab the second time again, but that's because I physically needed a detox. It's dangerous just to stop when you got to the level I got, where I was waking up and having to drink. Otherwise I might, That was 4 years ago. And so I go to meetings. I go to AA meetings and I meet people like me. I see people like me. I make the coffee, or I clean up, or wash the pots, and I listen. Some days I just go and shut up and just listen to other people's stories, and go, wow, that's like me.
Does it help you?
And then and it's a spiritual program, which I didn't realize. So it's about believing in something bigger than me that can help me, I suppose. It does help me, yeah. Just the connection, just going somewhere for an hour where you can switch your phone off and just be present. You know, there's meetings where they meditate. I'm not great at meditating. You know, my mind is very busy. But there's something about going into a room where there's other people that have been through the same or worse, that lay the cards on the table, and there's vulnerability. There's no show-offs. There's no, you know, when you go in a room like that, no one's more important than anybody else. You could have maybe a really well-known actor on one side and a homeless guy on the street, you know, and it doesn't discriminate. But there's a lot of laughter and there's a lot of hope in those rooms, and I do feel quite passionate. And if you were to relapse or to, you know, I don't think I've got another relapse in me because I probably wouldn't come back from it. So I have to be very careful about who I spend time with or who I'm around or you know, all that kind of stuff, because people, places and things can be triggers,
of course.
you know. But if you were to, you're welcomed with open arms, right? There's no judgment. But it's not for everyone. It's just the thing that works
for you.
me.
Yes.
Just for today.
Just
I have no desire to drink anymore. Thank God that's been removed, and I don't know why. I can't explain it, but it's been removed. You know, it wasn't easy at first, but it's it's a day at a time, really. Yeah.
Anthony, what is your biggest fear in life, except from relapsing or anything that has to do with addiction?
I think my biggest fear for a long time, even as a child growing up, was my father dying. Can't explain it. And then that happened. And then when my sister got sick, my biggest fear was her dying. And then that happened. And, you know, my mum is 90. She's in the care home, Rita. I talk about her in the book. Yes. She is still a character. She doesn't really speak in normal language anymore, and she's 90 years old, so she's a lot older now. But you know, I'm not fixed on the removal of fear, but that's something that I think is, if I'm to be totally transparent and honest, I do have fear around my mum probably passing away, because I want to be honest here, right? This is an honest interview, because then my immediate family would be gone. You know, like my mum, my dad, my sister. So I think I don't know what that's going to look like, but I know that I'm in a lot better place than I was years ago to deal with that.
Do you still feel lonely?
No, I don't feel lonely. I love spending time on my own. You know, I think you can be alone and not lonely.
Yes.
Right? I am in love with what I do again. Yes. You know, there's so many opportunities that have come through writing this book and connecting with other people. And I mean, it's almost like I'm at a point where I can't choose what road to go down with it, because there's been, you know, people. I don't want to talk about stuff that hasn't happened, but let's just say there's opportunities of this book could be turned into something else, and that's just amazing. Who knew that my darkest, most embarrassing, shameful things could be turned into something that, you know, I don't know if I'm right now I'm writing a new album, or I'm writing a musical or a show. I don't know, you know, but But back to the loneliness thing, I think, I do still get lonely. I think I'll always have that little element, but I think then that makes you the creative or the artist that you are. You have to have that to be able to connect with others, right?
Yes.
And so I have I'm always meeting new people, and I have, you know, this book has brought new people into my life.
Right? And it will bring more, believe me.
Yeah, and you know, we've chatted. Look, I messaged you and said, I really enjoy your show, and I like, you know, you just get an energy from people.
You do. Well, that was the reason that I created this podcast. I mean, I love listening to other people's stories.
And you've had such a range of people, right? From like Hollywood actors to writers to all kinds of different people, you know.
Yes, but you see that everyone deals with the same issues, you know,
We do.
We do.
Yeah, we're
We
all
do.
human. We're all human and
And
we're
we
all
forget
flawed.
that.
We're all beautifully flawed,
Mhm.
right?